Next up, we have a roll call of members. Carl.
Present.
Phil.
He said present, but he was muted.
All right, I wasn't looking in.
I was muted, sorry. Here.
Steve.
Here.
Mary Ann. Here. I'm Rebecca. I am here also. All right. So, we will, I guess we'll do the minutes afterwards. Is that how this is set up now?
I didn't set up this agenda, and I didn't. If you want to do the minutes first, get the housekeeping out of the way, that would be fine, Madam Chair.
It doesn't really matter to me since we've got people sitting on the phone. We might as well not make them sit through any more than they actually need to. So let's go with the first public hearing. We have a site plan review of a proposed 648 square foot upper deck for outdoor seating, a dining establishment at 53 Main Street, a 0702 acre parcel. The business expansion, second floor outdoor dining on PID number 110-012, and street frontage, front and rear, 2 different levels within the village commercial district. All right. For the applicant, both applicants, if you're both here, the way we do this is we have you do a brief presentation about the project, making sure to hit on adherence to the requirements of the zoning ordinances and specifying the asking for any waivers in the application. We then have to make a determination if the application is complete. And after that, we are able to then discuss the application, open up to a public hearing, and ask more questions. And then if, to that point, there will be a vote. So for this application, do we have a representative?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, so if you want to give a presentation, I'm happy to share my screen with any of the application material if you want, or if you guys are prepared to do that at the town hall. Is there any plan for either of those?
We have paper copies here, Madam Chair, the large format.
Okay.
But not for this project.
Jules asked me to share the screen as well, if it comes
Okay,
up.
so if you want to do that, that's great.
Okay, I can do that.
All right.
But I still need permission.
Beg,
Thanks,
Steve.
Jules. This one's not as visual anyway, but
Great.
Great.
There is some stuff there, so it might be helpful. All right, so does the applicant want to give a presentation on the project?
Sure. My name's Charles Berman. I'm one of the owners of the Lucky Dog Tavern and Grill, below Swan LLC. We had put in an application to the planning board for an expansion of our deck area. Basically, it's a second-story deck above our existing lower deck. The approximate size, which is equivalent to what our lower deck is 72 feet by 9 feet. The main access for this upper deck is a door from the restaurant area that, if anybody's familiar with inside the restaurant, would come right through the counter area, where the present counter area is, where people wait to get access tables. Wanted to do this, obviously, is with the whole dynamics of how dining out has changed in the last 3 months. As you're all aware, we've been closed for the last 3 months, and in the last 2 weeks have primarily survived on outdoor seating. So this proposal, we feel, will help out in the long term, because no one knows what the future is going to bring for indoor dining with this whole COVID-19 epidemic that we are in. We had submitted the plans with drawings. We also submitted the planning board application. We also have an application in for a building permit and had received a demolition permit prior to this meeting. We're just waiting for approvals on the board, and then we can come up with a timeline that works to complete this project. The approximate amount of seats that it'll gain, the approximation depends on the fire department and how they measure everything, but our approximate gain of possible seats outdoor on the second deck would be approximately 40 people. But we don't know if that'll happen unless the fire department approves that based on square footage. I think that's about it. I mean, the drawings are pretty self-explanatory if anybody has them in front of them. If they don't, I can hold up what I have. Anybody have any questions?
Steve, do you have the elevation and the images?
No, they weren't attached to this PDF, and I didn't see the other files.
Okay.
What file?
There was a
Let me stop screen sharing, because if you do have it, I wondered as I reviewed the packet, and it would be good for the applicant if we could show that.
I do have it, so I'm happy to share my screen if I'm permitted. Okay. Let me just make sure I have the right thing popped up. Okay.
Was it in a separate folder or separate file?
I found it in the Google folder,
Okay,
but I wasn't sure if it was among the attached things.
I didn't see it. Yeah.
Bonnie, I didn't notice that you just joined us, or maybe you've been there for a little bit.
I'm right here. Can you hear me?
Yep. Hi, Bonnie.
Okay.
All right. All right, now I can share my screen. All right. So I can just scroll through this. I feel like these are pretty self-explanatory, but Chuck, definitely jump in if anything, if you need to think.
Yeah, what you see here is the lower part already exists. That's where the lower deck is presently. The upper section is what we're looking to add. And it pretty much, as far as contour and stuff, it goes up 2 steps, about halfway up. You can see where the door is, coming out where the waitress area, waiting area is, in the window area. And the height, we don't have the exact elevation, because that'll all depend exactly where the floor of the restaurant meets the decking. So we have to basically drill through the wall to come up with an exact plane for the upper deck area, and then we'll have the exact elevation. But you know, you're probably looking at approximately 12 to 13 feet off the ground on its highest points, and then obviously as it gets to the end, it drops down slightly.
All right.
And the width is 9 feet, and the approximate length is 72 feet.
I'm just going to scroll through these, so anyone jump in, or board members, please jump in with questions.
Thing you see on the lower level does exist presently, as the picture shows. The picture, it primarily, if you go back to that picture, it's primarily replacing that roof.
Right here. Okay.
That roof, half of it's already been removed to open up the upper deck for sunlight during this whole COVID thing. But from where the existing deck primarily will be is where that roof line attaches to the wall, that existing deck for the second floor will end up being.
All right. Is everyone good if I stop sharing my screen?
Yep.
All right. So I'd like to bring this back to the board and discuss the completeness of this application. Any comments on how complete this application is?
I feel now that it's complete. I just had a question about the elevations, and when Chuck mentioned them, I figured they were somewhere. So that was super helpful. It's not really changing the footprint at all, and it's giving more functionality to the business. So it's one of those minor site plans that we often talk about, I think.
Yep. Anyone else?
I have a question,
I-
Chuck. Did you say you were going to
Oh,
drill?
hang on a sec. Hang on a sec. This is just for the board right now. We'll open up to the
Oh,
public
sorry.
hearing in a minute. So,
All right. Thank you. My apologies.
no worries. Any other board members?
Madam Chair, this is Bonnie. I can't raise my hand, but I just had a question.
Go ahead.
Okay, and I'm sure this is something that the fire department's going to take care of anyway, but I'm picturing myself on that top deck, and for some crazy reason there's a fire. I've only got one way to get off, and that's right through the door to the restaurant.
Correct.
So,
And the fire-
I don't know.
Well, the fire department put it this way, because it's under 50 capacity, it's only required one means of exit, and it is a deck, and the other end is very high off the ground on the far right side. And they said that it will not, they said the only thing that they said they can approve the deck for seating, it just will not change our overall capacity. So the capacity of the restaurant right now is, I think, approximately 97, I believe, is what the upstairs capacity is. He said with the deck, it won't change the capacity of the restaurant. So in theory, you're still only allowed 97. But you have to remember, in a restaurant, to have full capacity, you're talking every table filled to max capacity and every inch of where they can stand filled to capacity. Well, the chances of that happening are pretty much slim to none. I mean, you have the average of 2, 4, maybe a 6-top like a table. So he said you shouldn't really run into much of an issue with capacity going over that 97 when you add up the number of people on the deck and the number of people inside the restaurant.
Okay, then thank you very much.
Yep.
Can I just respond to Bonnie's comment?
Yeah, please.
Bonnie, I don't think it'd be that different than the upper deck at Six Burner right now.
Right.
Six Burner Bistro has a second-story deck.
That's true, they do.
Yeah.
Okay, I was just wondering. I mean, I think as far as I'm concerned, this looks like a very good project, and I would see no problem with it anyway.
Other comments or questions, or perhaps a motion about the completeness of this project?
I'll make a motion to accept the application as complete.
Second.
All right, I am going to, unless there's any more discussion, I'm going to read the roll. Carl,
Aye.
Phil,
Aye.
Steve,
Aye.
Marianne,
Aye.
Bonnie,
Aye.
and I. All right, so application is complete. Any comments from the board? Any questions before I open it up to a public hearing?
My observation is that it's something that a lot of businesses should be looking at. We quite honestly do not know what the COVID-19 pandemic is going to do. And in order to survive, creativity has to be brought into this. And I think this is an excellent step in that direction.
All right, so unless there's no other comments from the board, I am going to open it up to the public hearing. I'm going to just give everyone, I will acknowledge different people. I think most people are on the phone or don't have it videoing in, but we'll start with Maureen. Do you have, please state your name for the record and then make your comment.
My name is Maureen Stewart. And Chuck, did I hear you say correctly that you'll be drilling into the wall of the building itself?
Yes. To anchor the, we would have to anchor the sills to it.
Can you elaborate a little bit on that?
Yes, the sills that the deck attaches to would have to be anchored into the concrete poured wall. And then where it transitions to block, it'll have to be drilled through and plated on the other side of the block in order to basically do it properly, construction-wise. but most of it's poured concrete. Where the floor meets the upstairs second floor is all block. To the first floor, it's all poured solid concrete. Ideally, that makes a much better anchor. And then on the second part of it, where it steps up 2 feet, 2 steps, then when you get into that, you'll be into some block on the further part of it, and on the very end of it, you're actually in the wood. There used to be an old window there on the end that was taken out, and you can see the single window that was framed in. And those will be drilled through with a plate on both sides, excuse me, to properly support the sill that will support the deck. And then you'll have your footings and your main support beams and everything else.
Is there anyone here from the fire department represented?
So the fire department does get sent applications, right, Brian?
Yes, they do. Commercial stuff, they always weigh in. If it's a structural question, I'll handle it.
Yeah, so we don't see those reports here, but all applications are sent to various town departments for them to weigh in. We usually just hear if they do have a response.
And do they require some sort of approval before you can go ahead and actually start demolition or construction?
Yes, it's a building permit application, which is on my desk, but it's held until the decision of this meeting.
Okay, so can you outline the next steps if and once, I guess it sounds like it has been approved by the board here, what the next steps would
Okay,
be?
so if the board has an approval, I would take that building permit application, vet it for structural compliance, send it to the fire department, and they would sign off on it. And that would also trigger their visit for the assembly permit, which they set the number of patrons in the restaurants. And it's all based on square footage and types of seating.
And how is the patron monitored? How is the number of patrons monitored?
They have they'll have a letter in their foyer somewhere in the building that says, you know, what it is, what the occupancy is, and the number of patrons that can be in the building.
Okay, and to Bonnie's point, if in the event there was a horrible accident or fire and come to find out the limit was exceeded, does anyone know in that event what would happen?
Then it devolves into civil courts or perhaps criminal. It all depends on the act and how it was accomplished. But those, you know, the consequences of that are, you'd have to ask an actuary actually to find out.
I'm just going to jump in here and say that these are all things that are a little beyond the purview of the board that are what we do. You know, we are certainly not experts on fire capacity or exits or I don't think any of us are structural engineers, but speak up if you are. Happy to keep addressing some process questions because these are things that I think are interesting for the board as well.
Chair, if I may, if Maureen has questions, she can call me in the office tomorrow. I can answer her directly on the phone.
Great, thank you.
If it's things outside the purview of the board.
And your number again, I'm sorry, I didn't catch that.
536-1731. It's the town hall number. I'm Brian.
Thank you.
All right. Any other questions from the public? Okay. Then it's 6:50. I'm going to close the public hearing. Bring it back to the board. Any other questions? Discussion about this application? Nope. The motion of part.
I'll make a motion.
Yay.
Motion that we approve the application as filed.
I'll second it.
Unless there's any more discussion, I'm going to read the roll. Please signify if you approve this application by saying aye. Carl.
Aye.
Phil.
Aye.
Steve.
Aye.
Marianne.
Aye.
Bonnie.
Aye.
And aye. Okay, so application is approved. All right. Thank you.
That's it.
Okay,
That's it.
that's it.
Thanks. We'll enjoy the nice
Oh,
weather.
blank place, Chuck. I didn't know if you heard her or not.
Yeah. I'm going swimming. See ya.
All right. Next up, we have
You don't need me anymore, right?
a site plan of a proposed campground, riverwalk trail, and parking to be followed in phase by a driving range. This is a 9.8 acre parcel on Tenney Mtn Highway on PID number 213-028, currently vacant, opposite of Yeaton Rd. Flood level mitigation will be required for infill, which is subject to the requirements of construction in the environmentally sensitive zone and by the state. Parcels in the agricultural zone. Okay, do we have a, so same deal, I think, if we've got a representative from the applicant, the same deal as the first one, we'll do a presentation on the project and we'll bring it back to the board about the completeness of it. And then we'll get into a discussion and open it up to the public hearing. So do we have a representative here from the applicant?
Joseph Carter, I'm on the conference phone.
All right, go ahead.
Excuse me, I have a hard time hearing you. The only one that's coming in loud and clear is Brian Murphy. So I'm having a hard time following anything. Do you want me to do the narrative?
So we need to do a, can you hear me okay now?
I can't understand you. I'm sorry.
Yes,
Can
Joe,
you hear me?
Joe, give us the narrative.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's in three separate parcels, actually, not as a subdivision, but as a development. And the Golden Age Campground and Riverwalk Drive consists of 20 leased lots of 6 months duration with no subleases. Each lot will be landscaped and will be an upscale version of the so-called trailer park lots. All lots are a minimum of 5,000 square feet and 50 feet of frontage served by on-site water, sewer, electricity, and TV. The percentage of impervious area equals 10%. The proposed construction sequence is that the entire 20 lots will be graded to the proposed contours as well as Riverwalk Drive. Riverwalk Drive shall remain open on weekends for the public to access the Riverwalk during construction. The timetable, weather permitting, and contract availability with all local, state, and federal permits in hand would be 2 to 3 months. The area below elevation 489, which is the 100-year flood, that will be altered and will be mitigated, compensated by excavating the proposed pond and beach as a compensating flood storage area. This will be phase 2. This construction timetable will be approximately 1 month. The golf driving range would be the third and final last phase and should be accomplished in 2 months with Riverwalk Drive paved. The best case scenario would be 1 year from the date of approval to completion. However, with only 6 months left in this construction year, it may run into the second year, 2 years. The upside of this proposal is that upon approval and all permits, the town will be conveyed Riverwalk Drive, a 10-foot wide sidewalk deed, the park, and the scenic lookout. The Riverwalk, 20 to 50 feet wide, and the pond with beach and river access, a total of 1,200 feet of river frontage and ownership to the center of the Baker River. A total area of approximately 1.6 acres. It is my understanding this will be the first conveyance to the town for recreational access to the river, and hope that it will continue on and give some incentive to the other owners along the river. With this large gift of valuable riverfront property, $150,000 value, I am respectfully requesting a waiver of all fees. And if you have any questions, I'm willing to try to answer them.
Questions from the or from the board, and if the applicant can't hear us, Brian, would you be willing to translate?
I would.
All right, so questions about the completeness of this project?
I'm wondering if I remember correctly, this is to be used for 6 months, and at the end of a 6-month period, do the RVs remain on site, or are these removed completely from the site until the next 6-month period starts?
Can I answer through the board? They will be on site if they want year round, but they can't occupy them. They strictly can only be occupied from April to October, 6 months.
How will that be enforced?
Through the lease. They will be a lease to each one, and they can be enforced through the lease.
Now, are they all going to be RVs, like actually, or not park model units?
They're all RVs, yes.
May I ask a question, Madam Chair?
Yeah.
Joe, will the tenants be allowed to build any accessory structures there, or would that be limited to like picnic tables and pop-up shade?
That's about what it would be. I don't, unless the board would want it. I'd come back to the board if anybody wanted to put a shed in there or something that stores things in. I don't know. But
I was more referring to like a roof deck, or, you know, typical amenities that like we've seen at other campgrounds where the occupancy is more or less permanent.
Yeah, there won't be anything permanent here, but they are can only occupy them 6 months. So
okay.
I could see picnic tables, I could see awnings, something on that idea. I'm hoping that they'll come up with some nice. I want it to look like a trailer park. The lots will be, as you see in the notes on the plan, each lot will be landscaped. They're going to look like house lots, but I don't want it to be look trashy.
Thank you.
Yes, Steve.
I guess because we're just looking at completeness right now. I had two things. One is the application talks about 22 sites, but I only see 19.
Yeah, we had 22, and at the last minute, we enlarged some lots along the 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and lost some lots. But the 20th lot is where the clubhouse is, in that parking area, right where it says Riverwalk to the right.
Okay.
That was the 20th lot. It would still be a separate lot, but it's part of the clubhouse.
So that was my question, Rebecca. My other question was, I wanted to at least respond, or we could talk about what the applicant said as far as what Joe said, as far as the donation of land and not paying fees. I don't know if there's a prerequisite to this, Brian. It seems like the fees have to get paid for the application process, and then if land is donated, maybe we can figure some reimbursement out or something, but it doesn't seem like we can waive fees.
I think those were future fees, Steve, not for the application.
So like for what?
Oh, well, I mean, you know, like say the having an attorney draw up the deed.
Okay, thank you.
Is that correct, Joe?
What's that? I heard something about an attorney would draw up the deed. Yes, the attorney will draw up the deeds.
Could you expand on the waiving of fees, please?
Could you repeat that?
You mentioned waiving fees. Could you elaborate on that, please?
Oh, yes. I understand you could ask for me to pay engineering to check what we're doing. If that's what I understand is in your regulations, I would ask you to waive any of those fees. But if you wanted to, I would use your engineer to whatever you're concerned with in there. I just didn't want to do it twice. I'll pay for it twice. In other words, if you were concerned about the drainage or the compensating fill area for mitigating the filling area. If you wanted me to hire your engineer to do it, I would do it. But I didn't want to have to pay someone else to do it. A lot of it I want to do myself because you'd probably think it was a conflict of interest. So I would hire an engineer, another engineer not related, to do that part, the mitigation.
Typically, we will contract with an engineer to do site surveys.
Yeah.
I don't know, I don't want to speak to the board, or for the board rather, but in my world, if you are a certified engineer, and it's
I am.
there's no conflict of interest.
Okay.
We would have somebody
Some
checking.
people view it that way.
That's why we have the engineer on retainer to check that work. So you could save yourself the engineering by doing it yourself, just knowing that our guy is going to check all your calculations.
Okay. But do I have to pay him to do it? That's my question.
Yeah, you would, because he's working for, well, you would pay the town and the town hires him. That's how we maintain the arm's length on that. But he's working on our behalf, not on behalf of the applicant.
You know, that was one of the fees I was asking to be waived. He could say, well, it's going to be $10,000 to check what they did. I didn't want to pay that after donating $150,000 worth of the valuable piece of this property.
Yes.
So part of the issue is we can't, I'm not saying we will need an engineer review on this, but if we do need an engineer review, we wouldn't be able to approve the project without the engineer review, if that's how we choose the route we choose to go. So it's hard to say we'll waive the fees without knowing that we're going to approve the project. Does that make sense?
It does, and there's another wrinkle as too, Madam Chair, in that all fees and monies are actually under the Board of Selectmen and not anybody else. So the petition would have to be to them, which, and it would be up to them eventually.
Okay.
I couldn't.
Well, I would request that would be, and also there's 2 registrations on this. It would be my brother's a registered engineer and a surveyor in New Hampshire, and I'm registered in Massachusetts, also registered in New Hampshire only as a surveyor, but I'm registered as a professional engineer in Massachusetts still, and I'm not retired.
It would seem to me, and I don't want to speak for the board, but the most intense engineering for this would be for the compensation.
Right.
That's where they really have to hit it. I don't see anything on the plat that would, require like checking inverts and things like that with like a normal drainage system in a development.
Yeah.
It appears to be all surface drainage here.
It's all surface, really. It's a swale, and it's going to go into the driving range and down through and into the river.
Okay. So it sounds like as a board, we can't make a determination on the fees. That's beyond our zone of responsibility. So, all right. Other questions about the completeness? I have a couple. I'm going to jump in. Is the environmentally sensitive zone on the plat?
I didn't hear that.
It doesn't show it on the small one I'm looking at. Did we send an excerpt of the tax map? Do you have it on there, Jules?
Yes, it's on the bottom left corner of the plan. It shows the tax map with the abutters. Vicinity map, those are the abutters and their lots. It's in the bottom left.
Oh, that's not the question.
Oh,
I think the question needs to be repeated, Brian.
Yes, I could answer it, Madam Chair.
Okay.
It's the southeast corner, probably an acre, would you say, Jules? Because it's 500 feet from the river.
No, I guess I'm asking. I didn't see it on the plan, so I just want to make sure that it needs to be denoted on the plan. So if it's not on there now, it needs to be. And my other question is in the calculation for impervious surfaces, does that include, the roads are paved, but what about the sites? Are those paved, concrete, gravel? That's my question, sorry. Brian, are you able to translate that?
Yeah. For the calculations for the impervious surfaces, Joe, the question
Yes.
was, what comprised the camping pads?
The what?
Each of the pad lots, what's the surface on those?
Oh, just the size of the most of them are 40 by 10.
No, sir, I meant what is the surface composed of? Is it gravel? Is it lawn?
All pea stone.
Pea stone, thank you.
Yeah, but the impervious area would be the building itself, or not the building, the mobile home. That would shed right down onto the stone anyway. But there would be an area for them to park their camper or mobile home, whatever it's going to be, for the 6 months on pea stone. Actually, the only paving that we would have is Riverwalk Drive down through. The rest of the Riverview Drive is pea stone. The areas for the parking of the vehicle is pea stone. So there's actually the only paving that I can see is Riverwalk Drive, and I think it's spelled out over on the design data, up on the just above the title, the second one up, design data. 10%.
All right.
Most of it's Riverwalk Drive.
So if the board wants to make a determination about the completeness of the project, we can talk about that now. I have a handful more questions, as I imagine a few of you do, but are we okay to move forward with accepting this as complete? Or do we need to see any more detail? What do folks think?
I read the minutes from the initial kind of presentation that Brian did unofficially to us at our May meeting. And there was a note from Bonnie about doing a site walk. And I think that would be super helpful because I do have some questions, but they're not about completeness. They're more about the design and where the environmentally sensitive zone is and how close the Riverwalk Drive is to the river, stuff like that. So if we do deem this complete tonight, I would be in favor of a site walk following whatever procedure Brian says we have to follow. And I wonder if that might be the fairest thing to the applicant. He could be there to interact, hear from us or someone serving in his capacity.
Yeah, I was noticing that too in the minutes, that I think that's important with this one. It's hard to visualize a big space. So.
Yes, I mean, certainly we can do that. We could do it at any time the board can all get together, or tour it as, ones or twos or threes. Three's a quorum, so we might as well all go at once. That means, posting and minutes and all the other happy stuff. So I'll leave it to the board to schedule that, and I'll take care of the rest of it if that's the will.
What does everyone else think?
Sounds good
Yeah, I
to
think
me.
a sidewalk, yeah, I agree. Would be helpful. It always is.
Are we good to accept the application as complete? It just means the clock starts ticking for us as far as making a decision. So if we think there's enough information in there.
I think there is.
Rebecca, are you concerned about the environmentally sensitive zone being shown on the plan? Would you ask for that to be shown on a plan for the site walk?
I would just want it to be shown on the final plan. I don't think I'm not worried about it for the completeness. I just want to make sure that we've all gone through the list. It's hard to, it's difficult on the screen here because I can pull the map up, but the map is really big, so it's hard to see all the details. So I just want to make sure that everybody gets a chance to speak their piece, and yes, so we can move forward. All right.
I would move that we accept the application as complete.
Second.
I'm going to read the roll unless there is any further discussion. Okay, Carl,
Aye.
Phil,
Aye.
Steve,
Aye.
Mary Ann,
Aye.
Bonnie,
Aye.
and I. Okay, I don't think we have anyone here from the public tonight. So do we need to open a public hearing since we posted it and then close it? Or can we just save the public hearing for later?
I mean, either way, you can call for comments, and if there are none, it's just like a regular meeting, I guess.
I'll
We don't
just
have Frank.
Yeah, I'll just open up the public hearing at 7:12. All right. Anyone have any comments? This feels even weirder than saying this to an empty room. All right. It is still 7:12. I'm going to close the public hearing, and we will continue this. We'll continue to a date certain to be determined
Yes.
at some point soon.
Do we have to give the date certain at the meeting? I mean, right now?
Do we?
Yeah, I would think so.
Okay.
Yeah,
Do you-
hearing-
Could I address the board?
Work session?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, it probably would help if I staked out the east side of Riverwalk Drive with grades right down through to the parking area, and you'd have a good idea where you are, what's going to happen. In the meantime, since we submitted this, I've been working it over, and I've lowered the grades by 4 feet on Riverwalk Drive, so I would be resubmitting more data on a different profile. The layout won't change, but the elevations would change. I've lowered it so there'd be less mitigation and less excavation and filling. But it might help if I laid that road out for you, and I could put like those lot lines in on the right side on 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and with elevations that are on the profile. If you could wait till after this weekend, I could probably get up there Saturday, Friday, or Saturday and get that staked out.
You are welcome and encouraged to join us for the site walk, because I'm sure we're going to have questions. So if that's at all possible, we'd like to pick a time that will work for you.
I didn't hear that. So.
We'd like you to join us on the site walk, Joe.
Yeah, I would love to be there.
As the
But
tour
can you
guide.
have it after this weekend? By the weekend,
Oh,
I could get.
absolutely.
Yeah, I could get that staked out, and anything else you might want, you could tell me or give me a buzz, and I'll get it staked out so you'll have everything. And actually lowering the profile of river. Originally, when I did those profiles and did the elevations, I was trying to not have a mounded septic system, so it wouldn't look like a mound. So I had raised the elevations 4 feet so that the bottom of the system would be above that flood level of 489. So I lowered the road and I've lowered the grade, but I will have a mounted septic system. But that will go through the state anyway. But I did, just in passing too, my last project I did 331 lots on Bull Lake, and it's probably called now the Jewel of Bull Lake. They were all $400,000 houses, and I built 1.5 miles of road. So I'm familiar with construction. I did a lot of construction as an engineer, and I had my own business for 50 years, and I think you'll be happy with what I'm doing there. But I would like to be there, so if you'll notify me when you're going to be there, but if you could hopefully make it after this weekend.
Can we just do it, would the board be amenable to doing it at our July 1st or July 2nd work session?
That works.
Oh, July 2nd, Joe, could you meet us out there? I was waiting for the board to confirm that. That's why I didn't bring it up.
Yeah. No, whatever date I'll be there. It's not a problem. I'll get it by then. That's for sure. Yeah, I got plenty of time. We'll get it done by this weekend or the following weekend. So that's not a problem. Yeah, that'd be great. So I'll be out there. You tell me what time you want me there on July 2nd. I'll be there. And if in the meantime, if you want something else to see besides that, let me know so we can stake it out with some grades or whatever you want to see.
Does the board want to meet at our regular time? I'll say that I have to be in Hebron at 7 o'clock on that day, so I am unable to attend if we do it at our regular time. So if we want to do it earlier in the day, I am amenable to that.
Same.
Yeah, I would recommend that we go somewhere in the 3 to 4 o'clock range.
3:30?
Or later.
I will likely be out of town the entire day unless, so I'll probably miss it, but if the rest of the board wants to attend without me, that's okay.
Yeah, I wouldn't be able to attend till after 5.
All right.
We got plenty of daylight.
Can we do it at 5? It probably won't take an hour.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I have to leave at
5:15.
5:15? Carl, does that work for you?
That's fine. What, 5 o'clock?
5:15?
5:15, yes, that's fine.
5:15.
How about you, Bonnie?
That's July 2nd, 5:15?
Yep.
Yep, that works out fine for me.
Okay, would you prefer to join us on the phone, Bonnie? I'm just kidding.
You mean for the site walk?
Yeah. Just kidding.
I don't think so. I think I'd like to be there.
All right, so 5:15 on July 2nd is when we'll do our site walk, and we'll continue this application at that point.
Okay.
Do we need to take a vote on that? I guess maybe doesn't hurt.
It never hurts, Madam Chair.
Okay. Would someone like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion that on July 2nd, we meet at 5:15 for a site walk out on Tenney Mountain Highway.
I'll second.
Okay. The problem with taking a vote is now I have to read the roll again. Carl.
Aye.
Bill.
Aye.
Steve.
Aye.
Marianne.
Aye.
Bonnie.
Aye.
And aye. Okay. So we will see this place in person in 2 weeks.
Madam Chair, just clarification for me. Are we going to continue, is the date certain are you going to the next public hearing session, which would be the third Thursday, to hear to render a decision? Or are we going to try to meet after the site walk?
I mean, we've done it before where we've just continued it at the site walk, right?
Yeah, and certainly we could hold the vote out there and everything if you guys feel you had all the information you needed. But I just, since it's a date certain, I want to make sure we got the certain date. That's the only problem. But you could certainly continue it from that point too.
Right. That's kind of what I'm thinking. We're going to continue it to a date certain of July 2nd, and then if we need to, we'll, if we feel like we need to discuss it further on a screen or a table, then we will do so.
Thank you.
All right. Okay. So moving on to our minutes. We have 3 sets of minutes to look at.
Yes.
We'll start with May 7th. Any comments, corrections to the minutes for May 7th? Or motion to approve them?
I make a motion to accept the minutes from May 7th as I've read it.
I'll second.
Okay, all those, oh, geez. I'm going to read the roll now. Carl,
Aye.
Phil,
Aye.
Steve,
Aye.
Marianne,
Aye.
Bonnie,
Aye.
and I. Okay, the minutes from the 21st of May. I have one correction for them. We made a motion to name that conservation land in honor of Chris Buckley, but the vote isn't mentioned. We've got the motion and the second in the minutes, but not the motion itself, which I believe was unanimous.
Yeah, it was a unanimous vote, but you're right. I'll have to look at that. That was kind of a strange, because it kind of crossed the line between a formal presentation and, informational.
Mhm.
But I can look back through and see who did that.
I'm certain the vote was unanimous.
Yeah, the vote was unanimous.
But the motion and the second are there. It's just the vote that we don't have in the minutes.
Oh, okay.
So you're suggesting we amend the minutes to say the board approved unanimously?
Yes, thank you.
I will move that we approve the minutes of May 21st with the edit that under item number 2, we add that the board approved the motion unanimously.
I'll second.
Okay, I'm going to read the roll. Carl,
Aye.
Phil,
Aye.
Steve,
Aye.
Marianne,
Aye.
Bonnie,
I have to recuse myself because I couldn't get through on the phone that time.
oh, okay, all right, thank you. And I from me. Okay, finally the minutes from our last meeting on the 4th of June. Any edits on those? Any corrections? Nope, okay. Steve, you were not there.
I will move that we approve the minutes as written.
I'll second.
I'm going to read the roll. Carl,
Aye.
Phil,
Aye.
Steve,
Aye.
or do you abstain?
I'll abstain.
Marianne,
Get up in the eyes.
Bonnie,
Aye.
and I. Okay. I'm hoping we're at the end of our marathon approval sessions that we'll be back on cycle to approve regularly.
With any luck, next meeting's review will be tonight's meeting. Actually, if you want to read them at the site walk, otherwise we'll have 2 for the public hearing session in July.
I just assume try and do it at the site walk if we can, but if it doesn't work, then we can start stacking them up. We just got into a lot of strange things have been happening lately, so.
You've noticed.
Okay, so the other thing we talked about was reviewing the district sheets that, but now I just realized a few minutes before the meeting, I'm not sure if those get circulated. Did those get sent around?
The district sheets?
That Steve sent them to you and me on June 4th, right before the meeting, and then we talked about sending them to the rest of the board, and I'm just not sure if they made it to the rest of the board.
I believe I did, but I can send them out tomorrow.
The plan was to discuss them this evening, so has anyone had a chance to review these?
Mm-mm. No.
Okay. All right. So, I mean, we can try and pop them up here and look at them, or we can give the board a little more time to look at it, but we're looking at the end of July at this point to go over this stuff. So anyone have, folks want me to pop it up on the screen, or do we want to take some time to look at it?
I don't mind looking at it again.
Whatever everybody decides.
I think we might be at a disadvantage for Bonnie
Yeah,
by
that's the
on
point.
the screen right now. But if we could get printed copies to Bonnie, and if everybody could commit to reading them, I know you talked about them at the June 4th meeting, but if you could commit to reading them carefully and be critical, ask questions, make suggestions about the names, about the district descriptions, and about the uses. If we could get any of those questions and comments back, maybe by the July 2nd field walk, Rebecca, then as a subcommittee, we could start working on those changes.
Yep.
In the meantime, we're going to start to put together a very similar table of dimensional standards, so lot size and setback for those 3 districts. We didn't want to overwhelm until we know if we're going in the right direction with the material so far.
All right, so I will take it upon myself to make a reminder to send these out tomorrow, and then maybe I'll send them out again next week with a reminder to do so, to review them, if that works. And Brian, you can get a copy to Bonnie.
Absolutely.
Okay. Yeah, Steve?
I guess I would also just offer, because we have 2 weeks, if anyone spends some time and looks at them and wants to talk, I think you could call me on the phone, or we could set up a time to talk, because there'd just be 2 of us. I'd be happy to provide some of the background, or I'm sure you could call Phil or Rebecca if you'd like. I'd not be offended. If somebody wants to talk in the next 2 weeks to keep this moving.
I would prefer you call Steve in the next week at least, because I'm a little busy, but or Phil, sorry, Phil.
That's fine. I'm not offended. Call Steve.
And I'll call Phil.
There you go.
Now then we'll have a quorum.
Really, chain emails, secret meetings, can't have it.
Okay. So other than that, I think the only thing we are going to discuss is how we hold our meetings into the future, and whether we want to start meeting in person, or if we are feeling comfortable enough to meet at the town hall.
We're planning to open to the public in the next very few days. We're just asking people when they enter town hall to wear masks, and respect social distancing guidelines. So I heard a good thing the other day. It's physical distancing, not social distancing, because that kind of works against what we're trying to do. That being said, as I brought up at the last meeting and put it to the board, I will respect any of what you want to do, either as a board or individuals. But certainly, if you would like to come in and hang out at the meeting room, we'll have a seat for you.
What are the other boards doing?
Everybody has, ZBA's had pretty much the year off, but the Board of Selectmen has been Zooming. And they will continue that until the end of the month. So the meeting after Mondays for the Board of Selectmen will be in person. But I also believe that there'll be some members and also some of the public that will be coming in telephonically.
I think we actually, since we did just set up our work session as a site walk, we'll be outside for our next meeting, so that kind of gives us the ability to test drive these more open times. So we can certainly make a call 2 weeks from now if we want to have our next meeting be in person or remote.
I'm happy to do it any way you guys want to. I mean, if some of you want to come in, I'd like to see the paper in front of me. But certainly if you're not comfortable, we can continue doing this on an individual basis, I believe. I'll let the members make the call for that. How's that? Because it's your comfort level, not ours.
There are two recent studies that came out, one from UC Berkeley and one from Oxford University in the UK, both of which determined that if around 80% of people wore masks, the COVID virus would die. Simple as that. Not instantly, but it would move in that direction. And wouldn't take all that long for it to go away. It's in fact been accomplished in Australia and New Zealand because they wore masks and they observed distancing and they stayed home when they needed to. It has not yet hit New Hampshire. But then again, it hadn't hit the South or the West when New York was having a problem with it. But now it is. And it's impossible to tell whether it's going to hit here. When you're outside, that's a significantly less of a problem. So the sidewalk doesn't bother me at all. But being cooped in a small room like the meeting room at Town Hall, I still have concerns about that at this point.
I agree with Carl. I mean, unless even if we're masked sitting at the table, which would be a tough experience, we can't stay far enough apart from each other for me to feel like I'm not endangering anybody.
We certainly could use the seating area for the public for spreading people out, if that was the case. Or we could bring lawn chairs and hold it between here and the church, you know, for outside around the common, for if we could only get some ice cream over there. I don't know how we would do that.
We know somebody that does ice cream.
Oh, okay. But that's what I mean. I'm not going to say, you know, you're either here or you're off the board.
No pressure.
You know, it's if even if there are people here and you're still personally uncomfortable, then certainly you're welcome to join via Zoom. You know, this is what I wanted you guys to start thinking about when I raised the question at the last meeting. So, I mean, eventually we're going to go back to some semblance of normalcy. I'll leave it up to you to determine the timeline for that, because it's all an individual choice.
And I'd like that to be data-driven rather than emotionally driven.
Absolutely.
Okay. So at this point, to me, it just sounds like the board would like to move forward cautiously. So can we go meeting to meeting? So we have this conversation every 2 weeks and decide how we're going to hold
boss.
What's that?
You're the boss.
Yeah. So I think we just make a call at the next meeting, and yeah. So I'm curious to see what happens now that people are definitely moving around quite a bit more. So yeah. All right. So we'll meet in the field next meeting, and then we will determine whether we'll be staring at screens or at each other's faces, masked or otherwise. So.
Sounds good to me.
Yep, I agree.
All right.
Do we have any other business on the agenda?
There is none. There's been no correspondence.
Did you have?
Could I make a motion?
Yes.
Is it time? Can I make a motion?
Please.
I would like to make a motion that we adjourn this meeting.
Looks like you're on your own, Bonnie.
Yeah, nobody else.
Well, I know. I said, I felt like saying, did you hear me? Did anybody hear me?
I'll second.
All right. And I shall read the roll. Carl.
Aye.
Phil.
Nay.
Steve.
Aye.
Marianne.
Aye.
Bonnie.
Definitely I.
I don't mind being overruled once in a while.
You're going to get detention, Phil.
Yeah, I don't hear too many of those. I for me as well.